and welcome to installing VMware vFabric Postgres. This installation will go a little bit differently than the other vFabric installations we've done these screencasts for, in that the RPMs we'll be installing are not directly available on the Yum repos for VMware. So we'll have to actually go download each RPM manually from the My VMware website and then install those RPMs one at a time instead of using Yum. So the first thing we'll do is go to the VMware website. We'll search for download vPostgresQL. We get shown a list of search responses, and we go to the download VMware vPostgres link. We're going to download the free trial, and it expects you to have an account here. I'm using mine. You can create one easily for free. And then it gives you a list of the pertinent downloads for vPostgres. The first one we're going to do is just the Postgres server itself. So that one's downloaded. The second one we'll do is the server post installation scripts. These are init.d type scripts that help you run Postgres in a production environment, so you can start and stop the server on when the system boots. And then we'll get the community documentation, just because it's always good to have as much documentation as possible. And then finally we'll download the client tools. So we've downloaded 4 RPMs. Now we'll move over to the system where we've copied those RPMs to, the 4 RPMs that we downloaded, and we'll see about installing them. The first one we'll install will be the client RPM. That one installs just fine. Second one would be the actual server RPM, and hit return. And notice it added a Postgres user and also a vFabric group. Now we're going to do the documentation, because it's always handy to have documentation around. And finally, we'll RPM install the server init package, which installs some scripts in etc. init.d for starting the server at boot time. And installing this RPM, in addition to installing those scripts that we spoke of, the install process itself actually starts the Postgres server running as part of the RPM install command. Okay, now that the RPMs have been installed, let's go take a look at exactly what happened during the installation of those. First, we'll look at the main install directory, which is opt vMware vPostgres. And there's a 9.1 directory, which is the current version, and then a directory current, which is actually a symbolic link that points to 9.1. Those are where the Postgres binaries are. You look in etc. password, and you'll see that the install created a Postgres user whose home directory is var vMware vPostgres 9.1. If we look in the etc. groups file, we'll see that the install created a vFabric group and that the Postgres user is a member of that vFabric group. Now let's go look at the home directory of the Postgres user, which is var vMware vPostgres 9.1. And you'll see here, this is actually where the database that got started up during the installation process, this is where that database is running. And you can start and stop that database with the script that's in etc. init.d vPostgres. And if we look at that script, at the beginning, there's a few places where it says edit from here down to stop editing here. There's some variables you can change to control where that database is that runs when the system boots up. And if you run check config to see when the service gets started, it'll get started for run states 3 and 5. So if we run service vPostgres status, which will run the etc. init.d script with the status argument, we'll see that the Postgres server is indeed running. It gives us the process ID and some command line arguments that it was run with. So let's connect real quick to the Postgres database server. We switch users to the Postgres Unix user, and we run the command in the Postgres bin directory PSQL. It has some built-in help. If we do /backslash ? It gives us help for basically commands that are specific to PSQL. And then we can do a describe of the system tables, and we see all the various system tables that are in the Postgres database. And then we can describe a particular table, which in this case is PG user mappings. And we get some information about the table that makes up those user mappings. So that was a very quick introduction to installing and observing exactly what files got installed as part of the vFabric Postgres installation. There's a lot more documentation that you can explore, and we'll explore some more details on that as we get into its role in the vFabric reference architecture. Thank you, and I hope you learned something from this quick screencast.